Sarah, I'm having a hard time figuring who's next. Dr. Sugar, he's next. Dr. Sugar, welcome. You're now recognized.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Boy, Dr. Sugar, you're tremendously echoing. Why don't you try again, please?
Sometimes that happens when you've got two devices in the same room.
Yeah. Is that all right? Let's try that again.
Sounds better, Sam.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. I have taken the opportunity earlier today to send you written remarks, which will, I think, speak for themselves. But I wanted to comment very briefly on what I've heard this afternoon. Some of you know me, some of you don't, but I've been involved in this so-called fight for a decade. And I think with this particular problem. What I've heard today, though, is that everybody who's spoken has found the flaws in this system. Whether you're a clerk complaining about families, whether you're a family member complaining about clerks, whether everybody's complaining about lawyers, or whether you have the temerity to complain about the judges. This is a broken system from start to finish. And in my opinion, after a decade of studying it, it cannot be fixed by legislative means because there's no reason to anticipate that a judge will reply and respect a new legislation any more than they have for the last 4 decades existing legislation. What I've seen today is a condescending attitude by those empowered to run this machine. What I've heard, for example, with the person who brought a Slurpee to her mother, that's an allegation that there was something wrong with the Slurpee. Was it tested, or was that allegation enough to convince the investigator that there was a serious problem in order to take away the rights of visitation of an individual who has rights? There's a problem, and I personally think that guardianship cannot be fixed. It has to be abolished and replaced with something much more humane and much more just. The system as it exists today is asymmetric. There is an enormous discrepancy between the power of the people in charge and the people they're in charge of. And until we address that basic problem that has to do with ageism, discrimination, and abuse of power, these discussions occur in a vacuum. I encourage the task force to go forward, even though I've noted in my written remarks that there have been a lot of other task forces in Florida that all failed. I encourage you to continue your work and offer whatever assistance any of us can give you to accomplish your task of fixing or abolishing guardianship. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks, Sam.
Dr. Sugar, I know you've been at this a long time. I've heard you testify before legislative committees. Our next meeting is going to focus on what other states are doing to address guardianships. And you may not agree with me on this, but there has to be some type of structure for a person who becomes incompetent. And if there is a better structure that you can come up with or you have studied and can submit, well, it probably is not going to happen in this legislative session, but this group can at least, look at that and maybe take on the cause. You'll win some allies there.
I would hope we'd be able to discuss that. I'm certainly happy to do so. There are some initiatives, including those of Judge Morley, that I'm very, very familiar with, which is elder caring coordination. But perhaps we could have that discussion, and I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sue Melendez, our next speaker. You're now recognized, Sue.
Can I also just